My thoughts about the Misfits fight. Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis and KSI versus Tommy Fury. I watched the whole event, I watched all the build-up, I watched the press conferences, the weigh-ins, all the crazy stuff with John Fury. Brilliant, loved it, loved John Fury. I thought it was going to be two good fights here. I thought Dillon Danis, from what he was saying, he sounded great. I thought, yeah, this is good. So then come the event night. Because I'd watched so much of the undercard people, I had interest in watching the whole show. I preferred to watch people having a scrap, having a go. You know, when you were in school and there's a schoolyard fight, you like to see people having a proper fight. Not one crying and rolling around and not wanting to take part. Queensby rules to fight with your fists. Now, what we saw with the build-up event, you know, the undercards, the two girls, which I took interest in them because they had so much bad blood between them. That was interesting, watching the build-up with them too. And then the fight, I was expecting, let me just check the names, Alexia Grace. I didn't think she'd do very well. She hasn't had a fight before. But she came out fighting, she came out swinging. She was giving it a go. And then she got hit a couple of times. I thought, oh, she's going to get beat by her. But Astrid Wet didn't finish her. She seemed to tire a bit, while the Alexia Grace was fit. She had good cardio. She was throwing punches, you know, they didn't seem very powerful. Obviously, none of them had much, you know, they weren't professional boxers, they were obviously very amateurish. But it was a fight. Great fight to watch, even though it wasn't very good quality. And it kept on going like that. The next fight, the tag team one was good. I watched the build up to that, I watched the weigh-in, I looked at the first two. It looks like they're going to have the best chance of winning by that. But B-Dave and Pinedo, you know, they were the same weight. I noticed they didn't look as good as physical specimens, so I say, but they were all the same weight. And I thought, oh, they could have a chance by that. And it was a great event, a great tag team fight. Getting into each other, both all laying into each other, all throwing hands, all having a go, having a punch up. Good old fashioned trying to win, trying to knock each other out. Great. My mate Nate versus Wyndham Nunes. That was a good fight. Wyndham Nunes looked like he had the beating of him. Nate done the business. And again, they were both laying into each other. Good. Everything was great. Another good one was King Kenny versus Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor was just charging him. Now, I preferred to see proper boxing, but it was like a charging him and then grappling him. That type of tactic, running in and clinching. Maybe Misfits should kind of ban that because it's not proper boxing in my eyes. You want to be both standing there, fist together, a fist fight, not a hug fight. Dean the Great versus Walid Sharks. That was a good fight. They both came to fight and they both went for it. That was a good fight. Anyone want to see a good fight, watch it. If you haven't seen it, so I won't give you the result, but they're good. They both laid into each other and they both went for it. And then Salt Pappy versus Slim. Great fight. Again, so this Misfits whole show was doing amazing. They both had some good skills. They both trained hard. Salt Pappy lost a lot of weight. Slim was tall and lanky. He doesn't look much like a boxer, but he can throw a punch. So Salt Pappy was winning the fight great. Eventually, Slim got his shot off and done the business. And then we come to the main events, and the whole show turned into a disaster. It's just unbelievable. Dillon Danis came out and he couldn't fight. Why was he picked if he couldn't fight? At least you should have picked someone who had a little bit of skills. It turns out he's always been known for not being very good with his hands for punching. So they shouldn't have picked him. why was he picked? And why did he make out he'd done all his training? And obviously he hadn't. He was just covering up. He had this tactic to cover up his face, get hit, try and tire Logan Paul out. And that didn't work. Logan Paul was far too fit. He could have kept going another 6 rounds by the look of him. Worst. I thought it was one of the worst fights I'd ever seen. It was like, oh my God, can't wait. I kept thinking, I can't wait to watch KSI versus Tommy Fury, because I know they're going to go for it and this is going to be a great fight. So I watched them and I thought, I was pretty embarrassed for Dillon Danis, and I liked the bloke. Maybe I believed what he was saying, that he was going to be great. But he let me down. And then the main event of all, and the KSI versus Tommy Fury. It just started off, I thought, this could be good. Tommy Fury goes laying in, I thought, oh, he's going for it. He said he was going to just charge him and trample him or whatever. I can't remember the words he was using, but he went for it. He was throwing hands. He's going in for the knockout there, Tommy Fury. He's going right at him. This is good. And then KSI was firing back. I thought, KSI is doing well there. He was throwing some good punches back. It started off like it was a good punch-up. I thought, this is going to be good. I thought KSI won the first round. He looked a bit better. He was throwing a bit harder shots. You've got to look, you're not just looking at the shots. Like some people just count in the punches which landed. You've got to look how powerful they are. Are they attacking? Are they going for it? Are they just defending, running away scared? You know, and the power of the shots, the main thing we're looking at. So he won that round to me. He had the most powerful shots. He hurt Tommy Fury one shot, and you could see Tommy Fury, oh, kind of, I think he might have changed his whole game plan a bit. He won, his confidence went a bit after that punch, I think. But it seemed to change in the second round. There was like more clinching. I think Tommy also hurt KSI one point, and KSI wasn't going for it so much. So they both seemed to like get a bit scared of going for it and getting hurt. And the clinching, that was definitely, for me, from KSI. Because you could see his left arm coming every time I've looked over the fight. His left arm, every time his left arm comes in, Tommy Fury's. So you could say it was Tommy Fury, he's grabbed him first, but to me it was always KSI grabbing him with the left arm. And with clinches, if one fighter's got to, and you know who got it, he's got to with a clinch, you have to clinch back. You can't just let him clinch you, he's going to do you. You have to clinch back to counteract his clinch with the clinch and work him in the clinch. So, for me, KSI was instigating the most clinches, and then Tommy Fury is hitting him on the back of the head, which is stupid. He shouldn't have been doing that. He'd already had them problems with Jake Paul in that fight, and he shouldn't have bothered with that. KSI had, if you noticed the back of his head, he had all that hair in a bun. So I was thinking, yeah, he's hit you on the back of the head, but you've got a lot of cushion in there. If we have a look at the cushioning he had at the back of the head. Now, I didn't know what I found out later at that time. But after the second round, when Tommy Fury had the point deducted in the second, and in the corner, KSI's corner, his corner man was telling to him, keep him in the clinch. He's had a point deducted. He said, make him. You can hear him saying, make him, and then change it. He hit you on the back of the head again. We know he will. I'm looking at it like, what the hell is this? We don't hear things like this in pro boxing. I'm thinking this is KSI's game plan, is it? You've just come here to clinch and get him points deducted. That's all he's doing is complaining about his back of his head, even though it's probably not hurting. And is that why he's got that big bundle at the back of his head? So anyway, it just turned into one of the worst fights I've ever seen. It got worse and worse and worse. Tommy just kept doing the same thing as he did the very first second of the fight. Running in, throw a few punches, then Jake Paul, KSI would grab him, then it'd be a clinch fest again, a cuddle fight. And fair dues to Tommy, he was trying to get the ref to stop the clinching. He was holding his arms up. You could clearly see KSI was instigating the clinches and keeping the clinches going. But Tommy Fury should have worked out a different plan. This is what done my head in. I'm just sitting there thinking, we're just doing the same thing, Tommy, all the time. Why can't you change your tactics? He should have worked out, right, running in, I'm going to get grabbed with the clinch. I'm not going to get grabbed with this clinch anymore. I'm going to bounce in and bounce back out too quick for him. I'm going to do a few jabs and bounce back out before he can get me. I'll wait for him to try and punch me, and then I'll counteract him and hit him with an uppercut. He only had one game plan. Game plan A. He should have had game plan B and game plan C ready. That's where he failed. He couldn't, I'm not running him down. All fighters have got levels. He's a novice. And we can see now that when his game plan wasn't working, he hasn't been trained, he hasn't had enough fights, he isn't trained enough to have different game plans where he can switch. That's what he needs to learn next. He's unable to work out how to adapt. I'm hearing a lot of Carl Froch and a lot of people running Tommy down. I'll stick up for a minute. And I love John Fury. I think he's amazing. Any YouTube videos of him chatting about his life or anything I watch, I think he's great. I wish there was more John Furys in the world, but he has to take some responsibility for not having Tommy ready to change his game plan, ready to switch it. And that's what they want to work on. So I'm not running John down. I'm saying, John, work on this now next time. Give him different game plans. Don't just give him one game plan going into a fight. Train him to have different game plans and you'll make a better boxer of him. You can do it. You're a good trainer. It's not all over for Tommy. No way. He came to fight. There was one fighter in that fight that came to fight, and that was Tommy Fury. He wanted to trade and blow. He wanted to get into a scrap. He wanted to get into a proper fist fight. And there's one man who didn't want to, KSI. And his game plan was to clinch and try to get points deducted. That was his game plan. The corner admitted it in the round. To me, KSI robbed all the people, everyone who paid to watch that fight. It was a robbery. And he should be, I can use the word ashamed, he should be devastated on his performance, on his fight plan. Because maybe he didn't realise, but he was going to make, his fight plan made it one of the worst ever main event boxing fights in history. It was unwatchable. After about the third round, I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't watch this no more. It's doing my head in. I thought the Logan Paul and Dillon Danis was one of the worst I'd ever watched. I didn't ever imagine I could ever watch a worse fight. And then that came along. And I thought, my God. What it showed me was KSI, he's nowhere near the standard of Jake Paul. Because if he'd stood and fought, he'd have got smashed to bits. And that, he knew that. And his team knew that. And that's why they came up with their, to me, illegal plan. It should have been illegal. He should have been disqualified for it. Especially once the corner was telling him to do that, to go out and endanger their own fighter by getting hit in the back of the head. What corner team does that? With the clinching rule, excessive clinching can get points deducted. I've never seen such excessive clinching. Now what was the referee doing? Why wasn't the referee breaking them up? Why was he letting them clinch so much? Why wasn't the referee giving any warnings to KSI? KSI should have lost that fight by a lot more. 100%. So that's my view anyway. But I can't say I enjoyed it. There was the last 2 fights ruined the event. The only other thing to say is, will it ruin Misfits? It will ruin it if they carry on like that. Anthony Taylor running in and just clinching. I think Misfits should be looking at, they probably won't, but they should be looking at stopping too much clinching, getting more real fights. Because that's what people want. That's what people always want. We don't care if a professional, skilled, the most skilled fighter in the world, but if they're not throwing hands, if they're too scared to get engaged with each other, and if they want to make it just clinch festing and stupid tactics, boring tactics, the greatest fights of all time are when 2 fighters engage and make it a scrap, and they both get applauded, whoever wins, and it doesn't matter if there's a loss, it's only Misfits. If we can make it a great fight and go for it, KSI to me looks scared for his life. He looked like a mouse. He knew Tommy Fury was much better than for boxing. He knew Tommy Fury was a better boxer, and he came up with that stupid plan. So there we are, my rant over. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. If you agree and any other views to add them to my comments. And if you're a KSI fan and they seem to disagree with whatever you say, even though there is a rule about excessive clinching, in the amateur ranks, they almost completely stop the amateurs from clinching. Because it's a bad habit to train amateurs to learn. They want to learn them to box properly, to learn to fight. Clinching is frowned upon in the amateur ranks, and they break them up straight away, and they deduct points from straight away. Clinching is supposed to be used if a boxer gets into trouble. So if he's getting hurt, if he gets the foot, he's not defending himself properly with his defence, his good head movement and gloves covering up the face. If he accidentally gets a bad punch to the head and he's wobbling a bit and he's a bit dazed, clinch. It is in the rules that it's if you're in trouble. Now, excessive clinching when you're not even hurt, you're not even in trouble, that really needs to be looked into after this fight. You need to be... Or was KSI in a lot of trouble? Was Tommy Fury coming at him the way he was, because he was bulldozing him, coming at him, swinging in? Was KSI in trouble every time he clinched? Is that how much trouble he was in? Well, that's another way of looking at it. Tommy just definitely won the fight, but did Tommy have a good fight? No. He didn't have a good fight because he didn't have a game plan B or a game plan C, and that's what he wants to work on. Will I watch Misfits again? Well, if it's going to go down that route, there's going to be a lot of people tuning out. But if they can work out how to make the main events exciting, which is what everyone wants, then it will continue to grow. So that's my opinion. Give it a like in the comment. Thanks for watching.